Man, the end of that UCLA game last night, what a shit fest.
Mm-hmm.
5 for 16 from the free throw line in the second half to lose the game by a bucket. And then it was so crazy, bro. They wasted Mick Cronin's strategy last night. Mick Cronin, out of a timeout, had a brilliant strategy of coming out in zone.
Yep.
Got the ball, got the turnover, got the bad shot. They took like a 35-footer. And then these clowns could all they needed to do was ice the game.
Yep.
Hit one free throw. And they just couldn't do it. That was embarrassing, brother. Now we know. Now we really understand why Cronin was so fucking mad.
Not what you need when you just clawed your way up into the top 25 and into the tournament.
Insane.
It's not what you need.
Okay, welcome back to College Basketball RX, College Hoops RX, if you will. I'm your boy Sosa Picks, joined by my co-host Spin Doc Sports. It is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, and we are fully entrenched in the college basketball season. Last night, some interesting takeaways. You kind of just heard us chirping about the ending of the UCLA game last night, which was just an atrocity, an absolute atrocity to mankind. Anything from last night that stick out?
Oh, of course. I have it in the oh, the Jayhawks, the poor Jayhawks. Look,
got that ass whooped by some Mormons.
We cashed this in VIP, and we actually cashed this twice in VIP, actually a bunch of times in VIP. I could tell that they were going to get the shit kicked out of them from the second that I watched the post-game pressers by both Self and by Hunter Dickinson. Both of them, Self just sounded so nonchalant. And honestly, just listening to a bunch of recent interviews by Hunter Dickinson, you don't try to read too much into psychology with people, but man, sounds like he doesn't even care. Sounds like he's just collecting his NIL and whatever. I noticed in his post-game press conference after Utah, didn't even look up once, just kept looking at the stat sheet. And then whenever asked a question was just kind of like, yeah, we didn't do that well. Yeah, we're going to have to play better. Okay. Yeah. Am I done? All right.
I mean, for a 6-year guy, bro, he is the epitome of lost stock, man. It's so crazy. He should have just left college after a freshman. He would have, I mean, I know he's made a lot in NIL, but man, you talk about a guy whose stock has just dropped year after year of being in college. I don't think we've ever seen something like that.
No, we haven't. Somehow he's gotten worse as he's gone through college. And so if there was any hope of him playing in the association, that's going way by the wayside now. He might consider himself fortunate to get a few years over in Europe. I posted it last night on X, and this is just my observation, just because after that press conference, I wanted to see how he responded. I swear to God, he's the laziest fucking defender I've ever seen. What's his name? Fordyce or whatever his name is from BYU. They're big. Just went around him. Or Traore. Just went absolutely around him. BYU made 14 threes, and they probably could have made even more. They could have put up 100 on Kansas. Kansas was absolutely lifeless last night. So the first initial tournament seedings from the NCAA came out with showing them as being a top 4 seed. I hope to God that changes.
Reputation gets you far in this world, don't it?
Yeah, it does. But
gets you far.
But if they actually manage to get a top 5 seed, and like a 4 or 5 seed, it's an automatic money line play against whoever faces them on the 12 or the 13 line. Honest to God, this team doesn't play together. This team is disconnected. This team just goes out there and just goes through the motions. Self looks and sounds like he's got maybe a year or two left. Honestly, I've actually heard rumors that Self is getting sick. He's kind of going the Tony Bennett route and just kind of getting sick and tired of all the NIL bullshit and what you have to do to recruit guys. Because, I mean, he's been there for 20 some years. I mean, he's an old school guy. So from that perspective, I get it. But on to the other top 25 action last night. Misfire. I got it. I got it half right. I know Mike and I kind of talked and posted about it yesterday about Texas A&M, Mississippi State. Texas A&M just couldn't make a shot in the second half. They got a lot of open looks, but just couldn't. I just went ice cold, and all the offensive rebounding in the world couldn't help them. Mississippi State didn't even shoot that well either. For the game, they only shot 43%, but it doesn't really make a difference when your opponent shoots 35. Mississippi State made an adjustment at halftime too, because A&M likes to run Taylor and their guards over the top off of high ball action, and they had their opposite post just come up right at the free throw line in the middle of the lane and just sit on it and stripped it. I don't know how many times. A&M never adjusted. 19 turnovers, which I believe was a season high. So hopefully Buzz can go back to the lab and get them right. And then the big one, though, the big upset, though, TCU got up big. They were up by 12 in the second half, and I almost gave out. I almost fired on the Texas Tech money line because it was at almost plus 270, and just something about it said, no, this is different. This seems like one that they might drop, and that's exactly what they did. TCU hung on. Very, very possible it was a look-ahead spot for Texas Tech because they do have West Virginia, Houston, Kansas coming up. So still very possible.
I'm listening to my phone. I was clicking on the YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not too worried about Texas Tech. Hey, in the Big 12, you're going to get everybody's best every night like that. In-state rival, bitter rival. I'm not horribly worried about it. What I care more about is how they respond. The same thing I said about Iowa State, and obviously they've righted the ship when they smacked Colorado. And I had a question in VIP yesterday about, is this a potential, Purdue as a dog, is this a potential upset look? And I said, not against Mr. Izzo, not in the Izzone, it's not. And said, you give me Matt Painter against Tom Izzo, that ain't even no contest. Like, I either stay off it or I take Izzo, period. And then before we came on, Sosa, you were talking, because I didn't watch this one. You were talking about UCLA, Minnesota.
Oh my Lord, bro. First off, the second half, they went 5 for 16 from the free throw line. It was an implosion. And they gave up 20. One guy scored 27 points for Minnesota in the second half, and UCLA scored 27 points in the second half.
Oof.
Dawson Garcia, I think his name's Dawson Garcia.
Dawson Garcia, yeah.
Bro, 27 points in the second half, 5 for 16 from the foul line. I mean, single-handedly just blew the game. They were up by 1. They go to the foul line. The guy bricks 2 free throws, and I mean, they give up a layup down at the other end. It was absolutely embarrassing. Also, huge issue in college basketball. If the girls' game has already gotten the ability to advance the ball in a timeout, we need to do that in college basketball. That shit is so fucking outdated, and it's trash. Why the fuck are we in 2025 and you have to dribble off 3 seconds off the clock to get the ball over half court to call timeout?
Yep.
That is fucking stupid.
Yep, agreed.
Especially when they've already put it in the girls' game. How the fuck is the men's game not on the right path with that? So I just, again, that shit is just, it's just annoying at this point, because it affects how teams can attack, the game plan at the end of the game. I just think that's a flawed issue that needs to be addressed very soon. You can pay kids $2 million, but they can't advance the ball in a fucking timeout. Come on.
Agreed. I also agree with Ben Swag in the chat here. Thank God COVID eligibility is over. Yeah, it's there. I shit on Hunter Dickinson, but he ain't the only one. There's more than a few guys that are 5th, 6th, 15th, whatever the hell it is, seniors that quite honestly just look like, especially guys that aren't going to go and play in the association next year or even get a G League shot. It's almost like they're just collecting NIL checks. They're collecting NIL checks to be on a roster, kind of sort of interested, and it just kind of like how I described Hunter Dickinson. So I totally agree. Glad to get back to regular eligibility. The transfer portal and NIL ain't going away. But if we can get all this COVID bullshit with 19th year seniors and 26-year-olds with kids playing in college basketball, I'll consider that a win. So totally agree with Ben.
Absolutely.
All right, on to tonight.
Yes, sir. And obviously the first game we're going to get into is Winthrop at Presbyterian. 7:00 start. You got Winthrop short favorites with a total of 152.5. Why are we betting on this? Why are we betting on this game?
All right. So Big South game, and the Big South, every team makes the conference tournament, but Winthrop pretty much has their seating secured here. That everybody but 8 and 9 get a bye. So there's no double buys. It's just 8 and 9 play, and then it's the top 8 play and just straight bracket style. So Presbyterian right now is 8th. So they are in that 8-9 game, but they're only 2 games out of 4th. So they have a lot to play for. Winthrop pretty much has a top 3 seed locked up. And in fact, their seeding is pretty well set. They'd have to do something really, really weird to not get that number 3 seed. High Point and Asheville are going to get the 1 and 2. But after that, and Winthrop's going to get the 3. But after that, you have just a bunch of teams that are in that 4 through 8 spot. So Presbyterian was on pace to the bottom of the conference, but they're on a little mini run here. They have won 2 of their last 3, including a gritty win at Longwood, which they swept Longwood for the first time in a few years. And we actually cashed that game in VIP when they won outright, and almost beat Charleston Southern, who is ahead of them in the conference, on their floor as well. So they get a revenge spot at Winthrop. And, you know, I don't try to get into psychological motivations for teams, but I will tell you that from a season seeding perspective, because obviously neither one of these teams are going on an at-large, this game means a lot more for Presbyterian than it does for Winthrop. So Presbyterian does have a few teams in the top part of the conference, including UNC Asheville coming up. So this is one of their best chances to get a dub, to get out of that 8-9 game and get the bye. Now, in their first matchup at Winthrop did win by 9, but it was a close game throughout. In fact, it was, I think, a 2-point game for a bunch of the second half before Winthrop got a few baskets and then free throws pulled away. But I'm going with Presbyterian money line tonight. I really liked what this team did against Longwood. What I really liked what they did was on the defensive end. You can see that some of their defensive metrics have kind of been up and down, but over their last 3, it's been a much different story. Presbyterian has only allowed 31% from long range over their last 3 games. That's with playing 2 on the road, and that's going to matter for a Winthrop team, as you can see, is near the top of the conference in shooting. Average or top half of the conference in 3-point percentage. They've also held opponents under 51.5% effective field goal percentage. That is much better than what they have been doing. And in their last game, again against Longwood, 42.6%. So they're playing a defensive slowdown game. They also tend to dictate the pace at home. 334th in overall pace. They don't allow teams to get up and down the floor, which is what Winthrop is built on. Winthrop is 5th in pace, and they also are in the top half of college basketball in getting up and down and getting in transition. So for me, I look at this as a combination of, first of all, when you have a team that has the history that Winthrop does against Presbyterian, which if you go and look at their history, it's not good for the Blue Hose, and that is their nickname. It's really good for Winthrop. But when you factor all that into place, the short number for me it also seems very trappy. Especially when you have Winthrop is coming off getting absolutely smacked by High Point. Now, I talked about how High Point's 1-2 in the conference, but High Point just beat the living shit out of them by 22. And they've had some road, they've had some road troubles. High Point beat them on the road again. Asheville beat them on the road. Gardner-Webb, who's below, almost as low as Presbyterian, beat them on the road. Radford, same thing. So they've only won 2 road conference games all year. So this is a situation where Winthrop's seeding is pretty well set in the conference tournament. They're probably not going to go. I don't think they're going to get 1 or 2. And they're certainly not going to drop out of the 3 or 4 range. Presbyterian needs this one very, very badly because right now they're sitting in 8th. They can very easily move up out of that 8-9 game where they would get the bye. So the official play for this one, I've talked about this over and over again. When you have conference rematches and you have short spreads for home dogs, you just take the money line. You don't take a point to a 1.5 spread. So that's what we're doing. Presbyterian money line plus 114 is the official play.
All right. Obviously, with Winthrop in that conference, they've been pretty dominant the last few years in that conference. It's very interesting to see. Obviously, they've had coaches move on too because they're kind of like a stepping stone program for young coaches. That we've seen that actually with the last 2 that they've had. I agree, man. I think Presbyterian 100% comes away with the dub. Like you said, short home dog, straight to it. Next game we're going to get into is Fordham traveling to Duquesne. Duquesne laying 6.5. We both like a play in this one. Mine is part of a combo. Yours, I believe, is a total. So we'll get into the metrics and then we'll give the plays.
All right. First thing about Duquesne is they play slow, 322nd in pace. They dictate the pace at home as well. Not only that, but they don't get a whole lot of points in transition. They prefer to play in the half court. So while Fordham does play at a little bit of a higher pace, they are top 75. What Fordham hasn't been doing is scoring points. Or actually what neither team has been doing is scoring points. So Duquesne has only put up over 75 points once in their last 6 games. That includes to Fordham, actually once in their last 8 games. That includes to Fordham where they this is a revenge spot for Duquesne because Fordham beat them there 65-63 in an absolutely ugly slugfest. You can see some of the offensive metrics over here where you do have Duquesne 50% effective field goal percentage. Their 2-point field goal percentage is just ugly. 13th in the conference at 48.8%. It doesn't get a whole lot better at home. And Fordham's defense hasn't been like the best, but on the road, they still allow a respectable 52.6% effective field goal percentage. That's not the greatest by any means. And it's just below the top half. But that's what plays into the team total here because the last game between these two and the last few games by Duquesne in general have been slugfests. They've been slow paced. They've been slugfest and not even necessarily so many, like a lot of missed shots, just not a lot of shots, period. So Duquesne does do a good job of not turning the ball over. They tend to work the shot clock. They are one of the slowest teams as far as average shot clock used, and they wear you down. They wear you down and don't really look to score a whole lot of points. So my play on this one, which I believe actually correlates with Sosa's, is the Duquesne team total. I think the full game under probably hits as well, but the Duquesne team total under 74.5. That's on FanDuel right now. It's just a few too many. I can see this game being played in the high 60s to low 70s for Duquesne. And I definitely see the second part of this, which is Sosa's play, happening. So I'll turn it over to him.
Obviously, on Saturday, we went the double money line route. We got a better odds. We got like plus 142. Both teams won. And I'm doing the same thing today. I think it's a good spot for 2 chalk spots. Duquesne being one of them. They're 6.5-point favorites at home. They're clearly the better basketball team. Like you just said, your play correlates with them getting enough points to win the game, which is, or just to cover the team total, like you said. My two plays, well, the first one is obviously going to be Duquesne money line, but the second one's going to be Kentucky money line. You combine them both, you get them around plus 105. You could probably get a better line depending on the book. But I like both teams. Again, we're playing the same formula as Saturday. Two home teams in very advantageous situations against opponents that they should simply escort off the premises. I just don't see a scenario in which both these teams don't win. To get both of them at plus 105, you want to call it a bankroll builder or whatever fucking term Twitter's using nowadays, cool. Even money, I'm not saying 50 unit max whale, but I'm not telling you that.
40 unit, bankrupt your bookie, buy a new boat, whale play. No, I'm totally with Sosa on this one. This, you sometimes, maybe you hear it at first and you're like, well, how are they going to not hit the team total over and win? Think about what I said first, is that think about the slow pace that they play at. And when you dictate pace, which is what Duquesne does at home, then you tend to have, one, success with wins, and two, you tend to have lower scoring games, because even if the opponent plays at a faster pace, if you're going to dictate it at home, then you have a much, much better chance of, one, winning the game, and then two, the team total is built off of a number of different metrics. But if you're going to dictate the pace at 322 versus a team that plays at 75 and 322 is dictating it, it ain't going to be a very high scoring game. So I like the full game under at under 141 and a half, I should say. I like Duquesne's team total under. Fordham's team total under is a little iffy to me. The reason why I say that is because I could see this game being just inside the spread. I think the 6.5 is probably around the right number. And so then if you get Duquesne scoring, let's just say 73 or 72, which would cash the team total under, it would win them the game. And then you get Fordham at like 68, 69, that would cash the Fordham team total over. So that's why I like isolating it to the Duquesne team total under. And then second one, if you wanted to add on to the two that we gave, would be the full game under. That's just how I look at this game. So
yes, sir.
Now we're going to go to the total opposite end of the spectrum on this one and rev it up.
St. Thomas at South Dakota, 8 p.m. start. St. Thomas laying 3. Got an over-under of 175.5, which is high as fuck for a college game. If a lot of people aren't familiar, it's 175 points is outrageous. But I'm sure there's good reasoning as to why that number's so fucking high, because you don't see. I want to say it's like one of the highest totals of the year. We just saw Auburn, Alabama was like 173 or 172. So bombs away. Well, first off, the last time that these two teams played, the final was 119 to 104. That was not in overtime. That was in regulation. In a 40-minute game.
40-minute game, 119 to 104. And there's a good reason why. So this has all the combinations of things that you like to see in points. If you get a chance to watch this on any ESPN network or wherever it's being broadcast, this is a fun game to watch. So obviously, most people know I'm from Minnesota, and St. Thomas, quick story about them. They were a D3 team 3 years ago. They were beating the shit out of everybody in D3 at all sports. They tried to move up to D2. There was no conference that they could go into, so their athletic director happened to know somebody from the Summit League and said, what do you think about moving up to D1? At first they laughed because they're like, how are we going to go from D3 to D1? Said the difference between the best D2 conferences and the mid-major D1s isn't really that big. So why don't you give it a shot? The school president didn't want to do it. And then the Summit League people gave a presentation about the extra revenue with revenue sharing, with media, with exposure, with stuff like that, that the school could see and could bring in by moving from D3 to D1. And then the school president said, I agree, let's do it. Now, kudos to St. Thomas. Yep, that's where we're going. But we're not going full game over. I'm going one half of this one, but I like the full game over as well. So anyways, so St. Thomas moved to D1. It was it wasn't as rocky of a transition as you might think. John Tower still coaches them. I actually know Dr. Tower. My kid went to his camps. Coached, done a whole bunch of coaching clinics with him. He's a fantastic guy. He's very psychological in the way that he coaches, very analytical in the way that he approaches, and he's got his team playing very well. They're at the top of the Summit League right now, and like I said, it is bombs away. So 60.6% effective field goal percentage in conference games. This is actually one of the highest efficiency offenses in the country. Granted, they're not playing against like an SEC defense, but this is one of the highest efficiency offenses in the country. This is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. You see they're first in the Summit League. They're fifth overall in the nation. And then you go down here and you see some of these three-point percentage. They have five guys that are shooting over 40% from deep. And the reason why they do it and the reason why that happens is because of how efficient that they are. Guys are just getting wide open spot up looks. Then you have a South Dakota team that plays at the second fastest pace in the nation. They actually are one of the top teams in number of overall shots attempted. They don't even attempt to play defense. Their defensive efficiency, as you can see, 116 points allowed per 100. That's in conference play. 345th overall, because the only reason why it's better here is because there's some bad offenses in the Summit. And the St. Thomas just scores at will. They can score at will against teams that play impatient defense and that play at this fast of a pace. St. Thomas has also been making threes at a crazy pace. 42.6% as a team over their last three. They're shooting close to 50% over their last five. There's just points galore to be had in this one. So I like the full game over as well. But my personal play here for this one is St. Thomas team total over 84.5. If their threes are falling, which they have been recently, if their jump shots are on point, they could put up 90. So, you might think that the total is high, but they did put up 223 the last time. And that was honestly with the game slowing down a little bit in the second half. They were on pace at one point to score like 130. Just every single possession was points. South Dakota does not adjust their pace no matter who they're playing. They're go, and try to get as many shots on the rim as possible, which when you play against a team like St. Thomas that is that efficient offensively, then you give them that many opportunities and that many possessions, and you're going to give up points. So St. Thomas is they still can't play in the NCAA tournament, which is another fucking stupid archaic rule. When you move up, you should be able to qualify. Not when you move down. When you move up, you should be able to meet.
The folks at Bellarmine saying "Cry me a river." All right, they're like
they should too. They should.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Hey, listen, we saw Bellarmine. That was so disheartening a couple years ago, bro. They were so good.
When you move, I firmly believe when you move down, you shouldn't be able to. You should have the whole ban on tournament for however many years. If you're going to move, not only one, you move up two divisions. And now they're first in the Summit League. They might win the Summit League tournament and they can't go to the NCAA tournament. Fuck that. That is so dumb, NCAA. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. St. Thomas team total over 84.5. And as you can see here, I like the over in this game as well. Yep. 174.5, 175. There's going to be points galore in this game.
Yes, sir. On to the last one of the day. I really want to get some perspective on it first and foremost. Arkansas taking on Auburn. Auburn laying 16.5 at home. I don't think I know the last time a John Calipari led team were 16.5 point dogs. An over under of 152.5. Listen, something tells me I kind of have to take Arkansas with the points. I mean, 16.5 just seems
it's a lot. It's
fucking
a big number.
insane.
It's a big number.
Insane. So you mean to tell me I'm going to get 9 in the first half? I have to bet that.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Calipari's got to be telling these kids they got to be feeling disrespected, right? I could not tell you when's the last time you saw a Calipari team 16.5 point dogs?
It's been a long time.
I don't
don't know
think
if it's
he ever
happened.
had that his entire tenure at Kentucky.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
When I saw that this morning, I was just like, this is insane. It's absolutely insane. I think that, like, just from a moral standard and just having respect for yourself as a basketball player, you have to take the 16.5 points with Arkansas. If they go out here and get smoked, first of all, we're giving Calipari a mulligan for the first year. Everybody knows that. Okay? We know that. He's got to get the recruits in right now. Obviously, they're not, we know his formula to success that has been shown for years. He might not win championships, but he makes kids a lot of money after they leave the school, and he's going to make the school a lot of money. So that in itself is one. Obviously, Calipari's got a little more to prove now. I say all that to say is Auburn they're a 1 seed. They have two, probably 3 or 4 of the most outstanding wins on the schedule all year. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about seeing Calipari down. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, they can't really handle a bad loss. I mean, not that losing to Auburn would be bad. Losing to Auburn by 20 plus would be bad because right now they are the first to last team in as far as, well, according to Lenardi, who is the one that I always usually go with to defer to. But right now it's the last 4 in are SDSU, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Wake. So I don't think a loss would knock them out, but a 20-point loss might.
Only lean in this one is going to be Auburn's team total over 84.5. I think that, you're going to get prototypical Calipari. They're going to try to play with pace. They're not a team that's going to try to slow down the pace of the game just to stay in it. They're going to try to match the intensity of Auburn. They're going to try to match that. And, that could be a recipe for disaster. I just still don't think they get beat by 17. So I think Arkansas is going to be able to play with some pace. It's all dependent on whether or not they can hit the 3 ball. Obviously, we're fully familiar with what we're going to get from both teams. I'm with the 16.5, and I got to take Auburn's team total over 84.5. I think we're going to get a good basketball game. Arkansas has got to scratch and claw, man. And I think that, Calipari knows that they're going to have to bring the fight to some level of competitiveness. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Mike doesn't share your confidence.
Now listen, I get it, but it's one of those spots, bro. Like, this is the game that's going to decide whether or not you guys do anything as far as like getting into, postseason play. Like, this is a huge game on the road. I think you go out there and get smacked up by 30 and, Cal's going to be looking at the NIT. And don't get it fucked up. Remember, his first year at Memphis, he won the NIT. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't remember that. You remember back when he was in Memphis, he had Darius Washington Jr. Remember him?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
They won the NIT. So like it would kind of mirror kind of how he built the program. His first year at Memphis won the NIT. Second or third year that's when him and D Rose were in the national championship. And then obviously he got out of Memphis kind of fast. He ended up in Kentucky, but just from a positive, just taking some level of positive perspective away from what we're seeing right now. It's like, obviously they're probably not a Final Four team, but hey, his first year at Memphis, they won the NIT. Within 3 years, he was in the national championship. So
Mike likes the full game under for this one.
Yep. Not mad at that.
Yep.
Not mad at that.
And then even though we don't have it on our how many NIT?
Hey man, listen, I was just bringing up the fact that was the mark of success his first year at Memphis. Okay, no disrespect to Arkansas, but the program hasn't been shit since Nolan Richardson been there. No disrespect, and it's not like a disrespectful thing. I think we can all say that when Nolan Richardson was there, they competed at a different level. They were national championship contenders every year for about a decade. I mean, they were right there with anybody. Calipari's got huge shoes to fill because he's getting a shit ton of money to be at Arkansas. So, huge test for tonight. I feel like we talked about that game for a little too long. No, let's get on to our final hump day thoughts.
Any other Any other thought? I mean, the other big game tonight would be Bama trying to get the rebound at Mizzou. Man,
Mizzou favored in that game
they are favored.
outshot.
I think they're favored for a reason. I have a lean on Mizzou. I got to be honest with you. It's not a game I'm probably actively going to be looking to play, but having to go after that game where you were kind of dominated wire to wire, and then having to go to Mizzou, that's a tough place to play, man. Their defense at home is no joke. So it's probably one that I'm just going to stay off. If you gave me a free play, I would probably take Mizzou. I got to be honest with you. I probably would take Mizzou, and I would probably take the full game under on that one. But we didn't put that game on here as one of the featured ones on purpose, because I think that's probably going to be the most bet game of the night and have them the biggest handles, and that usually means that it's the sharpest line. So I am just going to stay off that one because there's way too many other games to bet on.
For sure. With that being said, this has been College Hoops RX with Spin Doc and Sosa Picks. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Plenty of content coming for the baseball season as well. Started posting some of it on Friday. Gonna have a lot more coming for the people. Make sure you guys are checking out Ballers Only on Playback with Prop. I know he started something new today. Make sure you guys are tapped in. And yeah.
All right.
Happy Wednesday. Let's get this money. Y'all have a great day.
Best of luck. Yep.